Okay, so we're going to read Dear Martin by Nick Stone, Chapter 1. From where he's standing across the street, Justice can see her. Mello Taylor, ex-girlfriend, slumped over beside her Benz on the damp concrete of the Farm Fresh parking lot. She's missing a shoe, and the contents of her purse are scattered around her like the guts of a pulled party popper. He knows she's stone drunk, but this is too much, even for her. Just shakes his head, remembering the judgment all over his best friend Manny's face as he left Manny's house not 15 minutes ago. The walk symbol appears. As he approaches, she opens her eyes and he waves and pulls his earbuds out just in time to hear her say, "What the hell are you doing here?" Justice asks himself the same question as he watches her try and fail to shift to her knees. She falls over sideways and hits her face against the car door. He drops down and reaches for her cheek, which is as red as the candy apple paint job. "Damn, Mello, are you okay?" She pushes his hand away. "What do you care?" Stung, Justice takes a deep breath. He cares a lot, obviously. If he didn't, he wouldn't have walked a mile from Manny's house at 3 a.m. Manny's of the opinion that Mello's the worst thing that ever happened to Jess, so of course he refused to give his boy a ride. All to keep his drunken disaster of an ex from driving. He should walk away right now. Justice should, but he doesn't. "Jessa called me," he tells her. "That skank." "Don't be like that, babe. She's only called me because she cares about you." Jessa had planned to take Mello home herself, but Mel threatened to call the cops and say she'd been kidnapped if Jessa didn't drop her at her car. Mello can be a little dramatic when she's drunk. "I'm totally unfollowing her," she says. Case in point, in life and online. Nosy bitch. Justice shakes his head again. "I just came to make sure you get home okay." That's when it hits Justice that while he may succeed in getting Mello home, he has no idea how he'll get back. He closes his eyes as many words ring through his head. "This Captain Save-A-Ho thing is going to get you in trouble, dog." He looks Mello over. She's now sitting with her head leaned back against the car door, half asleep, mouth open. He sighs. Even drunk, just can't deny Mello's the finest girl he's ever laid eyes, not to mention hands, on. She starts to tilt, and Justice catches her by the shoulders to keep her from falling. She startles, looking at him wide-eyed, and Just can see everything about her that initially caught his attention. Mello's dad is this Hall of Fame NFL linebacker, big black dude, but her mom is from Norway. She got Mrs. Taylor's milky Norwegian complexion, wavy hair the color of honey, and amazing green eyes that are kind of purple around the edge. But she has really full lips, a small waist, crazy curvy hips, and probably the nicest butt Jess has ever seen in his life. That's part of his problem. He gets too tripped up by how beautiful she is. He never would have dreamed a girl as fine as her would be into him. Now he's got the urge to kiss her, even though her eyes are red and her hair's a mess and she smells like vodka and cigarettes and weed. But when he goes to push her hair out of her face, she shoves his hand away. "Don't touch me, Justice." She starts shifting her stuff around the ground. Lipstick, Kleenex, tampons, one of those circular thingies with the makeup on in one half and a mirror in the other, and a flask. "Ugh, where are my keys?" Justice spots them in the front of the back tire and snatches them up. "You're not driving, Mello." "Give them." She swipes for the keys, but falls into his arms instead. Justice props her against the car again and gathers the rest of her stuff to put it back in her bag, which is large enough to hold a week's worth of groceries. What is it with girls and purses the size of duffel bags? He unlocks the car, tosses the bag on the floor of the back seat, and tries to get Mello up off the ground. Then everything goes really wrong, really fast. First, she throws up all over the hoodie Jess is wearing, which belongs to Manny, who specifically said, "Don't come back here with throw up on my hoodie." Perfect. Just takes off the sweatshirt and tosses it in the back seat. When he tries to pick Mello up again, she slaps him hard. "Leave me alone, Justice," she said. "I can't do that, Mel. There's no way you'll make it home if you try to drive yourself." He tries to lift her by the armpits and she spits in his face. He considers walking away again. He could call her parents, stick her keys in his pocket, and bounce. Oak Ridge is probably the safest neighborhood in Atlanta. She'd be fine for the 25 minutes it would take Mr. Taylor to get here. But he can't, despite Manny's assertion that Mello needs to suffer some consequences for once. Leaving her here all vulnerable doesn't seem like the right thing to do. So he picks her up and tosses her over his shoulder. Mello responds in her usual delicate fashion. She screams and beats him on the back with her fists. Justice struggles to get the back door open and is lowering her into the car when he hears the whoop of a short siren and sees the blue lights. In the few seconds it takes the police car to screech to a stop behind him, Justice settles Mello into the back seat. Now she's gone, catatonic. Justice can hear the approaching footsteps, but he stays focused on getting Mello strapped in. He wants it to be clear to the cop that she wasn't going to drive, so she won't be in even worse trouble. Before he can get his head out of the car, he feels a tug on his shoulder and is yanked backward. His head smacks the door frame just before a hand clamps down on the back of his neck. His upper body slams onto the trunk with so much force, he bites the inside of his cheek and his mouth fills with blood. Just swallows. Head spinning, unable to get his bearings, the sting of cold metal around his wrists pull him back to reality. Handcuffs. It hits him. Mello's drunk beyond belief in the back seat of the car. She fully intended to drive, yet Just is the one in handcuffs. The cop shoves him to the ground beside the police cruiser as he asks if Just understands his rights. Justice doesn't remember hearing any rights, but his ears had been ringing from the 2 blows to the head, so maybe he missed them. He swallows more blood. "Officer, this is a big misunderstanding," he starts to say, but he doesn't get to finish because the officer hits him in the face. "Don't you say shit to me, you son of a... I knew your punk was up to no good when I saw you walking down the road with that goddamn hood on." So the hood was a bad idea. Earbuds too. Probably would have noticed he was being trailed without them. "But officer, you keep your mouth shut." The cop squats and gets right in Justice's face. "I know you're kind. Punks like you wander the streets of nice neighborhoods searching for prey. Just couldn't resist a pretty white girl who locked her keys in the car, could ya?" Except that just doesn't even make sense. If Mel had locked the keys in the car, Just wouldn't have been able to get her inside it, would he? Justice finds the officer's nameplate. Castillo, it reads, though the guy looks like a regular white dude. Mama told him how to handle this type of situation, though he must admit he never expected to actually need the advice. Be respectful. Keep the anger in check. Make sure the police can see your hands. Though that's impossible right now. "Officer Castillo, I mean you no disrespect. I told your punk to shut the up." He wishes he could see Mello. Get her to tell the cop the truth. But the dude is blocking his view. Now, if you know what's good for you, you won't move or speak. Resistance will only land you in deeper got it? Cigarette breath and flecks of spit hit Justice's face as the cop speaks. But Justice fixes his gaze on the glowing green F of the Farm Fresh sign. "Look at me when I'm talking to you, boy." He grabs Justice's chin. "I asked you a question." Just swallows. Meets the cold blue of Officer Castillo's eyes. Clears his throat. "Yes, sir," he said. "I got it." August 25th. Dear Martin, aka Dr. King, also known as his aka. First and foremost, Please know I mean you no disrespect with the whole Martin thing. I studied you and your teachings for a project in 10th grade, so it feels most natural to interact with you as a homie. Hope you don't mind that. Quick intro. My name is Justice McAllister. I'm a 17-year-old high school senior and full scholarship student at Braselton Preparatory Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm ranked fourth in my graduating class of '83. I'm the captain of the debate team. I scored a 1560 and a 34 on my SATs and ACTs respectively. And despite growing up in a bad area, not too far from your old stomping grounds, I have a future ahead of me that will likely include an Ivy League education, an eventual law degree, and a career in public policy. Sadly, during the wee hours of this morning, literally none of that mattered. Long story short, I tried to do a good deed and wound up on the ground in handcuffs. And despite the fact that my ex-girl was visibly drunk off her ass, excuse my language, I apparently looked so menacing in my prep school hoodie, the cop who cuffed me called for backup. The craziest part is why I thought everything would be cool. As soon as her parents got there, no matter what they told the cops, these dudes would not release me. Mr. Taylor offered to call my mom, but the cops made it clear that since I'm 17, I'm considered an adult when placed under arrest, aka there was nothing mama could do. Mr. Taylor wound up calling my friend SJ's mom, Mrs. Friedman, an attorney, and she had to come bark a bunch of legal hoo-ha in the cop's face before they'd undo the cuffs. By the time they finally let me go, the sun was coming up. It'd been hours, Martin. Mrs. F didn't say a whole lot as she drove me to my dorm, but she made me promise to go by the infirmary and get some cold packs for my swollen wrists. I called my mama to tell her what happened, and she said she would file a complaint first thing in the morning, but I doubt it'll do any good. Frankly, I'm not really sure what to feel. Never thought I'd be in this kind of situation. There was a kid, Shamar Carson, black dude, my age, shot and killed in Nevada by this white cop back in June. The details are hazy since there weren't any witnesses, but what's clear is this cop shot an unarmed kid 4 times. Even fishier, according to the medical examiners, there was a 2-hour gap between the estimated time of death and when the cop called it in. Before the incident last night, I hadn't really thought much about it. There's a lot of conflicting information, so it's hard to know what to believe. Shamar's family and friends says he was a good dude, headed to college, active in his youth group, but the cop claims he caught Shamar trying to steal a car. A scuffle ensued, allegedly, and according to the police report, Shamar tried to grab the cop's gun, so the cop shot Shamar in self-defense. I don't know. I've seen some pictures of Shamar Carson, and he did have kind of a thuggish appearance. In a way, I guess I thought I didn't really need to concern myself with this type of thing, because compared to him, I don't come across as threatening, you know? I don't sag my pants or wear my clothes super big. I go to a good school and have goals and vision and a great head on my shoulder, as Mama likes to say. Yeah, I grew up in a rough area, but I know I'm a good dude, Martin. I know if I made sure to be an upstanding member of society, I'd be exempt from the stuff of those black guys deal with, you know? Really hard to swallow that I was wrong. All I could think now is, how different would things have gone had I not been a black guy? I know initially the cops could go on by what he saw, which probably did seem a little sketchy, but I've never had my character challenged like that before. Last night changed me. I don't want to walk around all pissed off and looking for problems, but I know I can't continue to pretend nothing's wrong. Yeah, there are no more colored water fountains, and it's supposed to be illegal to discriminate. But if I can be forced to sit on the concrete in too tight cuffs when I've done nothing wrong, it's clear there's an issue, that things aren't as equal as folks say they are. Excuse me. I need to pay more attention, Martin. Start really seeing stuff and writing it down. Figure out what to do with it. That's why I'm writing to you. You face way worse shit, stuff, than sitting in handcuffs for a few hours. But you stuck to your guns. Well, your lack thereof, actually. I want to try to live like you. Do what you do. See where it gets me. My wrist is killing me, so I have to stop writing now. But thanks for hearing me out. Sincerely, Justice McAllister.